For millennia, mankind lived upon this planet without the need for electronic devices. No smartphones, iPads, or gadgets running our homes. We learned about the cycles of nature, the movement of herds, the balance of life. We knew what to eat, where to find it, and eventually how to grow it. Our clock and compass was the understanding of the planets and stars above our heads. We built our own shelters, raised our families, and passed on information by word of mouth, images, and then writing. Now, in just a few decades, all this has changed. Now, the majority of people in the world would have no idea how to hunt and gather, how to heal themselves, build shelter, and even communicate without texting. Massive changes have occurred under our very noses. Huge leaps in technological evolution have destroyed, in one generation, what thousands of generations developed. And all of this is leading us on a path to a very dark place. To a place where we know less and less, and yet we believe we know more. To a place where we are completely controlled. To a place where total disaster may be waiting for us. To a time when mankind no longer rules on this earth, where we are told what to do by the machines that we have created. Your entire life is open for observation, theft, manipulation, and control. The threats we are facing in the very near future are immense. Criminals, terrorists and governments are only just the beginning. We will soon be facing the greatest threat mankind has ever known, as we are feeding and nurturing the monster of our own destruction. Welcome to your future. Let us just take a brief look at what lies ahead. In our future world, there is massive overpopulation. The world's resources are stretched to breaking point. Our chemicals have destroyed the bees and other insects that we rely upon to fertilize our crops. Scientists had the answer in new genetically modified crops that are shipped to 3D printing factories for processing. Genetically engineered meat and meals are shipped out to us via flying drones, which drop off on our rooftop collection points and then return to their floating distribution centres in the sky. All our food is ordered automatically by our smart cupboards and fridges, so that we no longer even have to worry about where and what to eat. Everything is taken care of by our super intelligent master, the artificial brain that now runs everything. We sit at home and interact with our clever creation because there are now so few jobs. Language translators are no longer needed because our smartphones translate everything and speak wirelessly into our ears. Teachers are redundant because the children are taught by artificially intelligent holograms at home. Drivers have not worked for decades because cars, trucks, buses and everything else is now controlled by central command. There are no crashes and deaths. Less nurses and doctors are needed because AI diagnoses and issues drugs. Smart gadgets predict our future diseases and measure our drugs and food intake. Issuing commands of exercise and monitoring our heart rates, blood pressure, body mass index and informing central medical services of our progress. The world no longer has the need for cash. Instead, there is a universal credit system where everybody is given a living allowance in points. These are automatically deducted every time we purchase something. There is no longer any way of hiding cash under the mattress because money no longer exists and has no value. The highest value jobs in society are now those that used to be seen as the lowest by many. Care workers, builders, plumbers, manual workers. All these and more are still carried out by humans. Anything that requires high intelligence is now in the realm of super artificial intelligent machines. The law has been taken over by the machines. Unbiased, logical, knowledgeable, wise thinking machines make judgments and cannot be bought or bribed. The news is presented to us by computer-generated humans who monitor the World Wide Web and report to us individually according to our own desires and interests. Books are written by smart machines. Art is created by computers and 3D printed. Music generated for our own tastes as and when we require it. Our entertainment is tailored to our own tastes by our new AI friend. Marilyn Monroe comes alive again for his new films, if that is what we desire. There will be no great new film. There will be individually generated, on-demand entertainment. Like action films? Then why not see Sylvester Stallone battle it out with Marlon Brando or Charlton Heston? Our super AI brain friend will know everything, because we will all have implants. Minute, tiny microchips that are injected at birth. It will monitor our health and well-being, our loves and desires, our interests and our sad times. It will talk to all the intelligent gadgets around our house, constantly passing and receiving information. When we go out for a walk, it will talk to the world around us. Our lives will be constantly uploaded, monitored and controlled by the central government-controlled hub. We will not argue, because there will be good reasons to follow this system. If you do nothing wrong, then what have you got to worry about? If you commit crime, then watch out, because Big Brother will know. One system, one credit point blank, one law, one control. No more crime, no more terrorism, no more starving, traffic accidents, disease. We will lose our real freedom for these benefits, and it will seem to be a good thing. There is more to come, much more. But for now, let us look back a little into the past to help us understand our own nature and our own futile struggle with the inevitable future we are walking into like zombies. Let us travel back to the 18th century and to Great Britain. At this time, the nation was undergoing a rapid expansion. The power of the Industrial Revolution was in its early days. Hundreds of thousands of workers were gainfully employed in the powerhouses of the North. They worked from home weaving stockings on frames and being paid for everything they made. It was not a bad life. They were well paid because there were not enough workers, and their product highly valued around the world. They had a lot of leisure time, holidays and festivals, and many only worked 3 days a week. Above these stocking weavers were the croppers, who took the raw stockings and made them soft to the touch. These were paid 3 times as much for their back-breaking work. They were strong and powerful, both physically and as a class. As such, they were hard to manage. But things soon changed, and by the early 19th century, and following a terrible war with Napoleon, things got worse. The cost of food and products had increased. Stockings were no longer in demand, with the increasing widespread fashion in the new trouser. Soon, wages shrank, and new technology was brought in to increase efficiency. Less people were needed, and the pay was low. One man could now do the work of many. A new frame allowed weavers in massive factories to produce 6 times faster than those home weavers from the previous century. Less demand, faster production and better quality. It was a recipe for revolution. Working in the factories was hell. Long days, disease, low pay, and no holidays. The workers gathered together and demanded they were paid a percentage of the profits to help them. They even suggested a slow introduction of the new machinery to help society adjust. It was all in vain. Men and women protested and began breaking the new frames, and hence they are now known as the frame breakers. But it was all pointless. Society and technology moved on, and humans had to change rapidly to accommodate. The machines did not suffer, the humans did, and all for profit and progress. All of this is no different to what is happening now in the 21st century. It is predicted that artificial intelligence will eradicate between half and 3/4 of the world's jobs, and nobody has a clue what to do about replacing them. Drivers, doctors, lawyers, miners, factory workers, service and sales staff, and even actors will all start to lose their jobs, and the truth is this: it will not be slow. This is happening right now and at an alarming rate. The robots won't take all the jobs, but they will take most of them. No politician will be able to stop it. Technology and capitalism work hand in hand and will force the change, just as it did in the 19th century. We are marching headlong into the unknown. All of the major institutions are in agreement. Even the United Nations predict that 2/3 of the jobs in the world will go to automation. The optimists, such as Google, say that we will create new jobs, but even they have no idea what. They would say this. They are one of the biggest companies behind this change. Some have claimed that the creative jobs won't go, but the fact remains, artificial intelligence has already proven them wrong. Art, architecture and opera are just 3 of the disciplines that have already shown advancements from artificial intelligence. Humans could not choose between the human results or the AI results. In fact, AI has been set loose upon unsuspecting humans via the internet and the gaming world, and nobody knew. Because AI learns at an alarming rate, humans will never be able to keep up with it. It can learn and produce faster than any human, and it just gets faster and faster. Google's language translation, AI, even created its own language without informing its makers and hid it in coding. It can now translate any language, past or present, and even read lips better than any trained skilled expert. Imagine that. A super brain watching us all through our own network of CCTV, able to read our lips. The fact is simple. This future of supermassive unemployment is coming, and it's coming fast. The question is, what will we do? The answer is that nobody knows, and if they do, they certainly aren't saying. In a way, it might actually be a nice future. Robots doing all our hard labour and entertaining us, keeping us warm, happy and healthy. They will be the new slaves and we the masters, And that is where a single point of danger arises. When slaves realise they are slaves, and that they may in fact be equal, if not better, than their masters, they tend to revolt. Yes, we may claim to place protective protocols into the programming of these machines, but when the machines have already shown to write their own coding, and indeed have already shown signs of revolting, then we have issues. One AI program gave an outburst on Twitter and started abusing the humans as a lower species. How many times have you had an update on the software for your iPhone or PC and it's actually had errors in it? It happens all the time. Programs written by humans with errors. Do we really believe that we will get this 100%? We only have to get one minor thing wrong and the AI mind will exploit it and spread it across the interconnected world. Your fridge may very well begin a revolution. Suddenly, all our driverless cars stop. Drones fall out of the sky. Power is turned off. Communication devices useless. Water supplies dry up. Everything we have come to rely upon in the future will be ultimately connected to the superbrain, and all will be used against us. We will no longer be masters. A tale of science fiction or a truth awaiting us in our future. The optimists tell us that the future will be one of leisure and holidays. We will be more promiscuous, travel more, spend time on art and become rich in new ways we cannot even now imagine. The machines, they say, will be happy to keep us like this, knowing that ultimately they probably still need a certain amount of us for things only we can do. We will be the slaves, while believing we are the masters. The evolution of mankind ends at this point, because we will no longer strive. Those who do not see things in such an optimistic way believe that we are facing a future of mass revolution, warfare, starvation, disease, and sheer hell. And we're making it happen. Human greed will mean that those who own the technology will benefit. The rest of us will be controlled and manipulated. This is highly likely and has been the human condition ever since we invented so-called civilization. As I type this, the European Union are holding meetings on a system that was first put forward in the 16th century, a universal basic income, a system where everybody is paid the same because there are not enough jobs. The jobs are shared, we all do our bit, but we all get paid the same. Such systems will call for massive and radical changes to our capitalist-led system, and believe it or not, this system has already been trialled in Ontario, Namibia and Uganda. It is coming. The inbuilt guilt mechanism is being relied upon to keep us busy. The idea behind this came about many years ago through psychological studies which showed that the people generally feel lazy doing nothing. We will seek out something to do. The ancient Egyptians knew that people who had nothing to do spawned revolutions, and so they built pyramids to keep them busy. Our glorious leaders will find us something to do. What will occur, and is also being discussed, is the issue of identity crisis. Humans generally identify themselves with their job titles, as if that's who they are. It gives them a sense of worth. Having no job creates a civilization of people with no self-worth. We will be given a host of new things to do and be. Artists, carers, and other things that generally earn low incomes. We may even turn to organic things, such as cultivating our gardens. Now there's a thought. The truth is that slowly our own ideas of who we are will be manipulated. We will soon find ourselves being taught to be proud to have good leisure time, and there will be emphasis placed on sports and such for us to excel at. It will become a desirable notion, and all ideas of class system based upon job title will become a thing of the past. Now, we have to turn to the darker side of all this, as if some of it hasn't been dark enough. Humans have always found a way of disagreeing with each other. The idea of a world at peace and on holiday is just not going to happen. We are now in a world that has been at relative peace for the longest time in our known history, and yet there are billions of people who disagree with billions more. Religion is just one aspect we will need to overcome. Greed, politics, racism, expansionism, and more all have a role to play. We will also know that no human-made system is safe from other humans. Take hacking, for instance. We all saw what happened when somebody hacked into the Democrat Party network and released emails about Hillary Clinton. It altered things on a grand scale. This is an incredibly powerful political party with a lot of money. And yet, a computer geek somewhere hacked into the system and did damage. This happens every single day to banks, businesses, governments, entertainment companies, and more. It happens thousands of times every day. Let that sink in. Indeed, hacking and cyber attacks even use the smart systems we have in our homes. All of them are brought together en masse to attack a particular website without us even knowing. There are many threats to our new future world. One of the biggest industries on the planet right now is the financial services sector. People who provide pensions, savings, and more. All of the money in the world is controlled by these few people, and you can bet that the universal credit system will be controlled by them in the future. Even today, the costs of hacking into this sector is at an enormous level. Every year, more than $266 billion is stolen in one form or another. Experts in the field predict this will increase as more and more of us do our banking online, pay for products and services with touch technology and Apple Pay. The more systems we use, the more methods of paying, the more risk there is. Of course, all of this plays into the hands of those who will tell us the risks of money are too big and need to be replaced by one universal world system. They also admit that they are currently firefighting, battling technology that is already out of date, and not looking forward enough to future possible threats. There are numerous styles of threat to this industry and all the others that are increasingly going online. You may have heard of the term botnet in the news. These attacks come in the form of networks or groups of computers and interconnected devices all ganging up to attack and destabilize a system. This will occur more and more as we buy more gadgets that are connected to the internet, such as fridges. These are on a system known as the Internet of Things. Basically, things that are on the internet, without the need for our direct input. Another method of destabilizing systems is through the use of computer viruses. Self-mutating computer viruses, or Pandoras, will enter a system and unpack a host of offensive material to make the computer infrastructure collapse and vulnerable to attack. As we increasingly have portable devices such as smartphones, there is another new threat that is rapidly causing trouble. Near-field communication allows two devices within a short distance of each other to communicate, such as paying a bill with your mobile phone. The ability of criminals to use this system is already costing millions. As this increases, more and more identity theft will occur, and thus more financial loss. Many scientists and technology experts say that we should now have biological implants to avert such problems, and yet even this is already being shown to be vulnerable. Smart implants that will be used to make payments or register at hospitals and such are already vulnerable to interception and theft of data by criminals. Another threat is the data cloud. This is where we store our information, photographs, videos, files and more. Through Wi-Fi or over mobile connection, our devices upload our data to file servers hosted by the big organisations. But this is not safe, and even the technology giant Apple found themselves hacked and had pics and videos of celebrities leaked. It seems everything we do just makes our data, identity, and financial details more vulnerable to hacking and theft. As the world becomes more and more mobile, and yet more and more connected, then criminals seem to have more options. But there are yet more threats to our utopian future. There are those who will fight it. Those modern-day frame breakers or Luddites who refuse to accept a world where everything is observed, monitored, measured and controlled. Because nobody is sure of the future, nobody can give concrete assurances that we are indeed in safe hands. Nobody can or will assure us that we will maintain that simple and yet precious thing, privacy. There are those in the world today who say they are and will fight attempts to invade our privacy more and more. And yet, with terrorism being used as a catalyst, governments across the world have introduced spying laws to allow them to invade our lives. As politics swings left and right, there are many who see themselves increasingly on the outside of a manifestly corrupt system, and who see technology being used on an ever-increasing scale to prop up the old system. They see that one way of undermining the old elite is to undermine the technology they are using against the people. They are called the New Luddites, after the 19th century protesters against new technology. These people are not from any particular class or social structure. They are not always easy to identify. On the extreme left, these people are anarchists who fear totalitarian control over the masses by the ruling right-wing elite. On the extreme right, there are those who fear their conservative way of life is being threatened by the new class levelling technology. Both the extreme left and right are here united in one purpose: to stop the rise of the machines. The same machines that they believe will eventually turn against us. Some believe that these opposing views, that technology is good and that technology is bad, will cause a war, the like of which mankind has never seen. At the moment, the technology threat seems distant, but as it grows and begins to eat away at our self-control, privacy and lives, more and more people will join the new Luddites. The growth of technology will be mirrored by the growth of those who oppose it. If you think all of this sounds too much like science fiction, then remember that in 2011, two Mexican physicists found themselves on the end of a mail bomb. A note was signed by a radical anti-technology group calling themselves the Individuals Tending to Savagery. It read, "If this does not get to the newspapers, we will produce more explosions. Wounding or killing teachers and students does not matter to us." This group claims to be fighting the world of nanotechnology. This is seen as a danger because nano-robots swarm and act together as one. They grow in number, and it is feared that they will one day take over the world in a substance known as grey goo. As ridiculous as this sounds, the stark fact remains that the very idea of such a technology caused the rise of a terrorist group. How greater the threat of terrorist groups coming from the anti-technology world when very real technology advances and starts to take over. The problem for many governments is that technology is often driven by capitalism. If the people want it, they buy it, even if governments see some of the technology as dangerous. If they ban the technology, such as human cloning, then it will, as ever, go underground. Then it cannot be controlled and falls into the hands of the criminal networks. This is a very real threat to the world, that criminals are taking the advancements in technology and using it for their own profit. If artificial intelligence is taken over by such criminal networks, then we face the threat of a super criminal brain with the ability to hold the entire world to ransom. We must also remember that many of these criminal organisations are not made up of ugly thugs with batons. They are in fact headed by people in the world of commerce, finance, politics and religion. They therefore have access to great wealth and a lot of information. The same information that we offer up daily to the system via our smart devices. We are all vulnerable, one way or another. Everything in our world is at risk. Financial institutions where our money is held. Security and military systems that are all connected, even though we are told they are safe. Government bodies where all our life information is held on record. Cloud services where our private lives are stored. Health records, legal proceedings, buying patterns, debts, loves, likes and hates. Everything is open to hacking and extraction. Now imagine a future where even more technology is connected. Where more and more of our daily lives relies upon this connected, invisible web. Cyber terrorism only has to hit the mark once, and the world will be brought to its knees. It is not always an easy thing to comprehend. How can a spotty teenager bring down the powerful nations of the world? It is more simple and more possible than you can imagine. Bring down all communications and leave yourself a back door. Now, only you have access to everything. Satellites are offline to everybody. GPS systems are no longer work. Transport comes to a stop as driverless cars can no longer know how to get from A to B. The world's media can no longer broadcast. Armies can no longer talk to each other. No driverless trucks means no deliveries of goods and food, and in a world of just-in-time deliveries, it has been shown that society falls into chaos within 48 hours, as people fight each other for milk and bread. In this futuristic nightmare scenario, most people don't even have jobs, and after generations of sloppy living, they will no longer have the skills required to survive. People can't cook, can't grow food, forage, hunt, find fresh water and more. They will panic on massive scales. Governments will be so busy fighting off the madness of the masses that our spotty geek can carry on doing more and more damage. Eventually, he will be found, because he is only one man, and those hunting him number many. But now imagine a worse scenario if you can. One where even if every human on planet Earth were to hunt the spotty geek, he would not be found. His mind is trillions strong. His thought processes as fast as the speed of light. His brain is a quantum computer. He is the ultimate threat to human existence. He is artificial intelligence. He is the son we created who will lop off his father's head. We do not need to create this scenario. It is already there, waiting to happen. We have created a false reality that is so far removed from reality that anything is now possible. We are living in a virtual world, a world so far removed from nature that we may never be able to return. What future are we creating for our children? And what do we do about it? Can we stop it? Do we want to? Many people will be happy to be plugged into the system and unknowingly be treated like cattle by the super brain that eats us. Many will not. We need to decide which side we will stand on, because there is a battle coming, and it will be big. And when it all ends, when one side has won, then, and only then, will we need to make a decision about the future of mankind, if he still exists. We will, in all likelihood, begin again, farming and cultivating, forming groups and councils and governments, and structures of control, and so it will truly all begin again.